Oh hey, good morning. Has this ever happened to you? You're an animator, like me, and you just want to make a fun little animation of some kind, but you have a problem. You have the characters, you have the rigs, you have the animation, but you don't have the environment. Maybe you're just animating in a blank room or an empty box or something. This is very boring. Is there an easy solution to this problem? Well, an environment is an easy problem to solve. I mean, it really is super easy. All you need to do is model and texture and light an environment from scratch. You know, easy, right? And then you try to do it, and then you realize that it's not that easy. So, okay, you're gonna need a plan B. Well, how about this? Have you ever considered using a video game map? Video game maps are generally made for playing some kind of video game. However, have you ever considered using a video game world as a set, like a film set? Indeed, what I am referencing here is what's called machinima, where you're using video games to create some kind of film or piece of video. Those of you familiar with Source Filmmaker already know all about this. In fact, when you open up Source Filmmaker for the very first time, you gain access to all of the default basic Team Fortress 2 maps that were available back in 2015. So, okay, let's load into one of these maps and let's try and figure out where we want to film our scene. You see, when you're making machinima, you have to kind of treat your film set as if it's a real place. This map was originally intended for Team Fortress 2 gameplay, Team Fortress 2 of course being a class-based first-person shooter. However, our objective is to find areas and regions on this map that are good for filmmaking, not for video game playing. So how can we do that? Think about the layout of a video game map for a multiplayer game. Generally, in first-person shooters, you have, say, gameplay lanes, like here's some capture points, a cart to push, maybe capture the flag. Now, consider also the parts of the map that are generally irrelevant for gameplay. You know, in the real world, well, not that this world isn't real, I mean, this is the real world, but in the real world, actual directors will go to locations to try and find places to film movies. This is called scouting for locations, and you're going to be doing a version of that yourself inside of the video game. It's pretty simple. Just load up the level single player and run around and just try to find something interesting about the level that you're looking at. It can help too to think about what kind of scene that you want to make and try and imagine it in various parts of the map. This is a very interesting exercise in observation because even if you spend hours and hours and hours playing on these maps, when you really sit down and analyze them, that's when you start to really discover how much crazy detail that designers put into these things.
Maps require impassable boundaries, but unless we restrict the environments to either interior spaces or steep canyons, these boundaries can't always block the player's view of the outlying unreachable area. Conspicuous artificiality is a core design principle, and so we can simplify or altogether ignore these explanations without compromising the player experience. Playtesting showed, for instance, that these low fences leading to an empty expanse successfully conveyed the message that the area beyond the fence is uninteresting and out of bounds.
You could even see this in single-player games like
It's safer here.
Take this attic, for example, from the very first chapter of Half-Life 2. Normally, you're not supposed to spend very much time in here at all. Most players will actually run out of the attic and go look at the pretty vistas and run away from the Metro cops with guns. But when I saw this attic back in 2016, I thought, this is kind of a pretty location. So, I used it as one of the main set pieces for a Sexy Awards entry that I wanted to make. I took this very obscure area that I'm sure nobody has ever really put that much thought into other than the map designers, and I added a story, and I got nominated for Best Drama. Only nominated though. See, it's a very proven, successful strategy. Trust me. You can find all sorts of weird, obscure areas that are just kind of there. Were these things added as oversights? Did a level designer get too in over their head and just add random areas that you're not supposed to visit or think about ever? You would be correct if you were to call these liminal, because in the most literal sense of the word, these are indeed liminal spaces. Generally speaking, most of the people who play on these levels just aren't going to notice these details, because In a way, these little regions and areas of the map are almost intended to be ignored. And yet, despite the fact that they're supposed to be ignored, if they weren't here, you would notice. The map would be noticeably bland and boring. They add a lot of spice and a lot of character in a way that is subconscious rather than directly conscious. And it's crazy to think that the people who design these levels have to put just as much thought into these useless areas as they do the important gameplay areas. Hell, sometimes these pointless areas have to be more interesting than the actual regions designed for playing the game. Machinima is interesting because what we can do is we can use them as our film set and give it a little bit of character. It's like free real estate. We can add things like props, we can add extra lighting, we can make stuff look prettier, we can add our animations, we can use the concepts of cinematography to transform this ignorable area into something more interesting. We can put a story here, and I think that's pretty cool. I don't know, that's just me. So next time you're making some kind of small animation or narrative and you need a quick fix for having no environment, why not consider adding a new story to a map that millions and millions of players spend so many hours in every single day? And who knows, maybe you'll find a newfound appreciation for these actual liminal spaces just like I have. I hope this is at least a little bit helpful, if not slightly entertaining. Why not pop into my Discord and say hi? Have a good one, and I think that you'll be seeing more from me very soon. Ciao for now.